Afternoon, teachers. So this is a webinar of August NASL was about the activities. So I welcome to this August month webinar. The CWC team is with you. Go through this activity so that you can follow these activities into your classrooms. So welcome once again for the all teachers.
Thank you, ma'am. Sushil, Angelina, and Mispa will be facilitating today's module. So I welcome you all to this session. Yes, over to you, CWC team.
Thank you, Bhanushri. Thank you, Asma ma'am.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, all teachers. I hope you're having a lovely day. We are all gathered here back to be a part of the second module for this program of our Shikshana Sambrama. Here we are looking at a second month into our learning session where we are continuing to discuss activities, concepts, explanations, project-based learning activities or lesson plan activities to create English speaking environment in our classrooms. We are trying to understand the ease and the effectiveness of teaching English experientially in our classrooms. And we are doing that by trying to know how to access resources that are created and designed specifically to address this necessity of us teachers. We will, in this module, also discuss strategies to address the skills. Our skills are listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking. The learning outcomes will always be the focus of every activity that we discuss here. The learning outcomes are from the DACRT as well as the NAS learning outcomes, the National Achievement Survey learning outcomes that we are trying to help our students do better in. So as always, as teacher participants, we will try to participate and engage in all the experiential activities and every element of this module. Let us try to see if any discussions and any activity or explanations here help us in gaining a little bit more understanding into our own subject matter, as well as our understanding about the pedagogy of teaching English in the form of experiential activities, followed by experiential resources that you will be gaining insight into and information about so that you can use them in your classrooms. Not only will be a part of the discussions on the activities and concepts, but let us also make it a point to take those activities, take those explanations, take those short videos that you see here, or resources like videos and lesson plans and worksheets that you can find on the Teachopia platform into our classrooms, so that we can enable our students also to involve themselves in the process of learning English experientially. But at the same time, we are the owners of our classrooms. We have the capacity to customize every resource that you see here as teachers and modify those activities, modify every idea that you see here, or modify every idea that gets discussed here, either by the resource persons or by your peers who share their ideas, so that you can customize it as per the requirements of your classrooms. Please feel free to know that you have the ownership to take something and change and modify it as per your requirements. So moving on to the National Achievement Survey outcomes that I was talking about. National Achievement Survey is a nationwide test that is conducted to get a grasp on how the learning outcomes or competencies like reading and comprehension is happening in our students across India. And that NAS exam or NAS test is going to happen this year as well at the by the end of this year. The learning outcomes for grade 5 and grade 8 are what you see on your screens. For grade 5, it says reads text with comprehension, locates details and sequence of events. For grade 8, the learning outcome is reads textual, non-textual materials with comprehension and identifies the details, characters, main idea, and sequence of ideas and events while reading. So reading and comprehension will be a main highlight of every activity that you see here, and also the activities that will be coming in the subsequential months. And as I had discussed with you earlier in the previous module, teachers, every month we are going to take one element or one experiential element that we will be discussing one at a time in each of these modules. If you all remember, the last month we discussed on the topic of exposure and forming connections. For this month, we are going to talk about the experiential element of practice and assistance. Let us see and try to recall, even from our previous year of attending the Shikshana Sambrama webinars and also the previous month, on how the stages of practice and assistance happen in the cycle of language learning. But before we get on to that, let us see on what are the relevant chapters for this month that we are looking into, the chapters which are relevant for this webinar. Ideas, themes, topics, and activities will be taken from and will cover these chapters that you see on your screen for grade 4 and 5 and for grade 6 and 7. Along with these chapters and activities, as I've been saying, we are also going to talk about some PBLs. What are PBLs? PBLs are project-based learning modules, which are short, simple activities that the students can read on their own and do on their own with minimal to no help from the teacher or any elders. With that, let us move into our first checkpoint for this module, which is us brushing up on what our language learning cycle has been that we have been discussing for the past 1 year. The language learning cycle begins with the stage of exposure for our students, where exposure means anything and everything that the teacher says to the students, anything and everything that the teacher provides to the students in the form of reading materials, visual aids, any TLMs which are pasted on the walls of the classroom, or posters which are hung on the walls of the classrooms or anywhere in the school. If a teacher makes them a part of his or her classroom session, then that becomes a part of the exposure. Most importantly, what the teacher says, how the teacher says, which means anything and everything that the teacher speaks in English to the students or with the students becomes a part of the phase of exposure. Next comes the stage of forming connections. Under forming connections, the students try to make sense of the resources, of the materials that the teacher has provided to them. More importantly, this is where the students interact with the teacher and gain insights or form their own meaning of what the concept is that the teacher is teaching them. Under trial and practice, the stage of trial and practice is where the students try to practice what they have learned, or they based on the understanding of what they have formed within their minds, they try to put it into practice either on their own or along with their peers or with the teacher. Then comes the next phase of assist and clarify. When the students are practicing what they have learned, when the students are in the process of doing things or speaking English, this is where the teacher comes in and identifies any errors that the students are committing, uh, diagnoses the requirements or the needs of the students, and helps them accordingly by providing more exposure or clarifications or assistance. Thus, the stage of assist and clarify. So that cycle continues in a cyclical manner. It is not a linear progression. With that, we move on to our first activity for the day. Our first activity for the day helps us achieve these learning outcomes that you see, DSCRT learning outcomes from grades 4, grades 5, 6, and 7. From grade 4, we are trying to address the learning outcome of response to simple instructions, announcements in English made in the classroom or school, infers the meaning of unfamiliar words by reading them in context, reads printed script of on the classroom walls, notice board, or in posters and advertisements. Grade 5, we have reads print from the surroundings and understands and answers the queries, attempts to write creatively, connects ideas that he or she has inferred through reading interaction with his personal experiences. For grade 6, we have participates in activities in English like role play, group discussion, or debate, and more. Refers to dictionary to check meaning, spelling, and to suggested websites for information. Reads to seek information from notice board, newspaper, internet, charts, diagrams, maps, and many more. Uses synonyms, antonyms appropriately, deduces word meanings from clues in context while reading a variety of texts, writes words, phrases, simple sentences, and short paragraphs as dictated by the teacher. For grade 7, we have learning outcomes like reads to seek information in print or online, like notice boards, signboards, or signboards in public places, or newspapers and hoardings. Then engages in conversations in English, either with family or friends, or people from different professions, such as a shopkeeper, a salesperson, using appropriate vocabulary. So these are the learning outcomes. I read the learning outcomes for the sake of all participants here. So here is an example that we have taken. This is a resource that we wanted all teachers to be familiarized with. On Teachopia, you will find, not only find, as I said, learning out, I'm sorry, lesson plans, worksheets, and many more. But you will also find some crucial documents which will inform the teacher on creating more lesson plans on their own. One such document is a concept map. So what a concept map essentially does is it takes the chapter, either a prose or a poetry, and tries to define what are the domains in which skills, topics, or themes can be covered using that prose or a poetry. For example, something that we have taken as an example for a unit called environment, we are trying to address different skills or different concepts from the domains of language and EVS. So under language, we can address blends, rhyming words, homophones, palindromes, and many more concepts like that. You will get lesson plans with these activities under these concepts on Teachopia. And in the same lesson plans, you can also integrate the activities will show you or highlight how you can integrate EVS elements as well, like pollution, segregation of waste, or environment protection, also along with the language concepts, so that the teacher is able to integrate multiple concepts, multiple genres of domains into one single activity or one single series of prose and poetry activities for a holistic understanding from a child's point of view. With that, we move into the first activity. So the first activity is a beginner level activity. It is not dedicated to any single grade of either grade 4, 5, 6, or 7. All these activities that we will be discussing here are universal activities that can be taken up for any grade, but will be either introductory activity, which is usually done either to introduce a new concept to the students, or if your students have not yet been able to be introduced to the concept that you want to teach them, please choose these activities and teach them regardless of the grade that you are teaching in. So this is an introductory activity on the concept of homophones. Materials required are some flashcards, and these flashcards need not be printed from online or any other resources. A variation of this can be that you can ask your own students to draw simple items and then use those drawings as the flashcards themselves. Alternatively, you can always find images that you can take a print of and create flashcards. So you create flashcards with pairs like these. Once you have taken the flashcards need to be back to back, or one on the one side and the other image on the other side. So once that is ready, you can use an explanation of homophones, something like this. So what are homophones? If you see two words and when you pronounce them, if their sounds match, but when you look at their spellings and if their spellings do not match, then they can be simply called homophones. Let us now look at some flashcards. So once you hand over the flashcards to the students, the child has to look at one side of the flashcard and identify what is the word. If they are not able to do it, they will flip the flashcard and then try to identify which word this image is representing. Once they identify this image and they voice the word out, for example, 8, they can flip the flashcard again and then confirm if the first image also correlates or corresponds to the word 8. So this is how every flashcard is used, where they use the second flashcard shown like this, flashcard side 1 and side 2. They flip and this is slide 2. This is flashcard 3. You flip the flashcard and you see the word male, then you know the flashcard is referring to a mailbox, and then you flip it back if you had not understood what this word might be. Now you know it is male, M-A-L-E. So this is how you can use multiple flashcards and many more images contextual to your students. Create your own flashcards to and print them one behind the other so that they are able to correspond one homophones to the other in a better way. One variation, one activity variation for this is you can make this a pair group or a group activity where you can ask two groups to stand in front of each other. One flashcard is shown to both the groups. One side is shown to group A and the other side of the same flashcard is shown to group B. And then they have to voice out their own words that they think corresponds to the image on the flashcard. And that then they try to see if they are homophones or not. With that, we move on to the second activity. Second activity addresses all these learning outcomes. In the interest of time, I would refrain from reading all the learning outcomes this time. I would request teachers to take a couple of seconds to glance through the learning outcomes once. I hope all teachers were able to glance through the learning outcomes. This activity belongs to the concept of blends. There is a small video that we would want all teachers to watch before we get into discussing the activity itself. I request all teachers to please watch this video once.
Blends.
Blends are formed
What are they?
when two consonant
Blends are
sounds
formed
come
when
together
two
to form
consonant
one
sounds come
sound.
together to form
When this
one
happens,
sound.
We can hear the sounds
When this happens,
of both the letters.
we can hear the sounds of both the letters.
Let's explore blends with the sounds. Let's explore blends with the sounds. The sounds and the sound together to make the sound come together to make the sound as in black. The as in black. Sounds and the sounds come together to make the sound come together to make the sound as in classroom. As in classroom. Sounds and sounds come together to make the sound come together to make the sound as in flower. As in flower. The sounds and the sounds come together to make the sound come together to make the sound as in glass. As in glass. The sounds and the sounds come together to make the sound come together to make the sound plant. As in plant. The sounds and the sounds come together to make the sound come together to make the sound as in slate. As in slate.
That was a small video explaining the concept of blends as well as providing some examples for blends. These are some short videos that you can even show students, teachers. You will find these videos on the YouTube channel of Caring with Colors or even on Teachopia. With that, let's see what do we have as an activity for blends. So this time we are using images of different items or objects that they find every day in their in their either home scenarios or school. So you can use images specifically which has different blends in it. The activity starts by providing those flashcards to the students. One flashcard per student. The student looks at each of the images that he or she has got and then tries to identify what is the name or what is the word for that item in it. So when they voice the word out, for example, if the student has got an image of a bread, the child calls out bread. If the child has got an image of, let's say, a blanket, the child calls out blanket. So on and so forth. All students do the same thing. Then the teacher calls out one blend at a time. For example, the teacher will say, show me all the pictures or show me all the words or tell me all the words which start with a blur or which has the blur blend in it. Then the person who had the image of the blanket stands up and creates a line or goes and stands in front of the classroom or wherever there is space. Next, the teacher calls out different blends. Let's say bra, where the child with the bread goes and stands beside the first child. In the same way, multiple blend sounds will initiate multiple students coming up, picking their images and voicing out their words. In this case, clear sound initiated this person to come forward with the clock. And bro will make this child bring their brick image forward and join the train. Thus, the blend train or the train of blend continues, and this can be elongated with multiple blends and multiple students. With that, we move on to the third activity. Activity 3 caters to these learning outcomes, which I'll allow all teachers to take a glance through. Okay, with these learning outcomes, let us look at the activity.
Good afternoon, teachers. I'll be taking you through an activity which involves the teacher telling the students a story from the textbook. So the first image that you see is of the teacher introducing the character to the children. In this case, the character is Tenali Rama. Okay, and so the teacher will ask questions about Tenali Rama to the students. She asks them questions like, does anyone know who Tenali Rama is? Have you heard stories of Tenali Rama? How do you know him? So when the children answer these questions, the teacher is able to gauge whether the students are familiar with the character or not. Then she starts a story which is there in the textbook. So she talks about telling a story about Tenali Rama and how witty he was. Okay, so the teacher gives the instruction to the children to move to the story of Tenali Rama and the two thieves that's given in page 66 of the textbook. Once they move to the story of Tenali Rama and the two thieves, the teacher goes through the pictures that are there in the chapter to help the children understand the story better. So in the first scene, what you see is Tenali Rama, after overhearing the thieves planning to rob his house, he decides to put a chest of stones and put it into the well to deceive the thieves to think that the treasures that he had in this house are actually in the well. When the thieves see him do this, they come by and they start emptying the water from the well in the hope of finding the treasure. And of course, they are exhausted. And in the end, when they do find the treasure box, the box is only filled with stones. And Tenali Rama comes and catches the thieves, who then run away. This is the short story of Tenali Rama and the thieves, which is there in the textbook. As teachers, we can take this story forward. We can discuss the following questions with the learners. These questions are known as reflective questions, which give the children an opportunity to think beyond what is available in the textbook. So a reflective question example would be, how was Tenali Rama's idea? Was it a good idea? Was Tenali Rama scared or was he courageous? Would you feel scared? The teacher can encourage the children to share their experiences regarding how they showed courage or felt fear in a situation by asking them these questions. Have you ever felt scared anytime? Can you share an incident that made you feel afraid? How did you overcome it? Were you courageous when that happened? Once the children have participated in these questions, the teacher can conclude the class and move forward.
Thank you, Miss Angelina. Let us now, teachers, look at a project-based learning activity. As I had told you all, project-based learning activities are small and simple activities that are created specifically keeping the students in mind and their English competencies in mind. The activities do not require the students to know a lot of reading. Even if they can read simple sentences and understand what are the instructions, they are able to do these activities on their own. And most of the times, all the instructions or most of the instructions are provided to them in a visual manner to help every student. Let us start discussing about an activity on articles. And this activity caters to these learning outcomes for all the 4 grades. Please take a glance through these. I hope you all got the chance to glance through the learning outcomes. And remember, teachers, as I had already informed all of you, these activities are not grade specific. They need not be required to be executed only by specific teachers teaching a specific grade. Every teacher can take these activities up based on the requirements of the students, based on what they think where their students are in terms of their understanding in this concept. For example, this concept of articles. Before we get into discussing the activities, let us look at a small video which will help us as well as students to understand articles in a better manner and in an interesting manner. Remember, again, you can always show this video to all your students, which is available on YouTube.
Let's learn about articles a, an, and the. Here are a few sentences. Let's read them together. This is a pencil. The pencil is broken. I ate an apple. We use the words a, an, and the before the nouns pencil and apple. But why? A, an, and the are words we use before some types of nouns. We use a before a singular noun that begins with a consonant. For example, a cat, a hat, a chair, a house. We can say, this is a cat. We put his bag on a chair. We use an before a singular noun that starts with a vowel. For example, an apple, an umbrella, an egg, an ice cube. For example, I am eating an apple, or I bought an umbrella. So, when do we use the word the? Let's read these sentences where the is used. The apples are really tasty. The teacher is in the classroom. We use the before a particular singular or plural noun. What does this mean? This means that when the person who is speaking and the person who is listening both know the noun that is spoken about, the is used before the noun. For example, I will give you the book, or where is the teacher? Here, both the speaker and listener of the sentence know which book and which teacher they are talking about. Here are more examples. Where is the cat? The teacher is in the class. My bag is in the classroom. So, let's review. We use a before a singular noun that begins with a consonant. We use an before a singular noun that starts with a vowel. We use the before a particular singular or plural noun like the teacher, the books, the chalk.
Okay, so the next classroom transaction activity is about is the usage of a story. The story uses articles. So once the children are introduced to the articles through the video that we just saw, you can take them through the story and pause every time there is an article. So the children can either explain it or identify the article or give us a reason as to why the article has to be used. So the story goes like, I have an interesting story. I met a ball. We rolled along to the park. Here we saw a boy on a slide. When he saw us, he called his friends. They ran to the ball to take a closer look. They were surprised to see a ball like no other. They thought maybe a kick or a hug. Then they had an idea. They thought to ask the ant. The ant answered, "Look closer." An article ball. So the children see the ball and see that there are articles in it. So they call it the article ball. So the ant gives the instructions, give it a word. And the boy says, pencil. The ant recites her chant. She says, an article here, a word there. Together, the sentence they create. And the article ball shows a. And the boy is really happy to know that the article a is used before the word pencil. So now you can turn this video into an activity with your children, and they can also give words and then come up with the appropriate article.
Teachers, let us utilize this space and the time we have to go to the chat section. Here is an interesting idea. I will give you a word to everybody. I request all teachers to type their answers as which is the right article which should be used along with this word. So the first word is bottle. The word is bottle. All teachers, go to the chat section, type which article belongs before the word bottle, and please hit send. Sarala ma'am, Kavya ma'am, Padmavati ma'am, Vanita ma'am, everybody says a bottle. Saubhagya ma'am, Shazia ma'am also agrees. Uma Devi ma'am, Ramabai ma'am, Savita ma'am, everybody agree that it is a bottle. So the next word, here is the next word, teachers, fastest finger first. The next word is glasses. Glasses. Yes, most teachers agree that their glasses fit when we are talking specifically about the spectacles that we wear. Okay, the next word is elephant. Wonderful. Uma Devi ma'am, Ramabai, Sanjana, Aisha, everybody agree, an elephant. Wonderful. Okay, here is an interesting next word. The next word is your name itself. What will be your answer? The next word is your name itself. Okay, Samina ma'am says the Samina. Okay. I will avoid reading out the answers until all the teachers type their answers and hit send button. Nice. So many teachers have got the formula right. So there is no article for a person, says Kavya ma'am. Absolutely, ma'am. And all the other teachers have also not typed any article before their names. For all the teachers who have actually typed their name, all other teachers like Vanita ma'am and Gayatri ma'am and many more, including Indira ma'am and others, agree that there is no article. Wonderful. Good job, all teachers. Good job in the participation. Uh, from the next module onwards, we expect that all teachers participate not only in answering to these simple questions like these. Now that you have practiced and now that we have established how interesting it is to be asked a question online and then quickly do a play around of fastest finger first and type the answers and hit on the send button. Uh, from the next module onwards, let us be prepared to answer to more and more questions, and not only on the chat box, through the chat box, but also using the poll questions, which we will slowly start to ask you and make a part of this module. So with that, we come to the conclusion of this module or this set of activities. Yes. So just like this, the activity also continues with the boy asking if egg also is accompanied by an article, and which article would that be? So the ant uses its magical chant by saying an article here, a word there, together the sentence they create. And then the magical ball gives us the article an for an egg. Then there's another boy who says, my turn, and gives the word river Kaveri, to which the ant again chants the magical chant, saying an article here, a word there, together the sentence they create. And the magical ball gives us the article the Kaveri River. And now we come to the conclusion of this activity and move on to activity number 5. Here are the learning outcomes. I am giving you a couple of minutes to glance through the learning outcomes once again. Remember, teachers, you can always go back and watch this video to identify the learning outcomes once again.
Okay, this next activity is about using an image with the children to help them identify where they can use the articles a, an, and the. So you can provide the children a image which has a lot of objects or something that they're familiar with, and give them maybe colored markers or anything that they can make a mark with 3 different colors. And the objects which have the vowel sound will get an, which is here blue, which is an ant, and they will put a dot near ant. They will see a stone which has a consonant sound, so they will put an A, that is a stone after that. And Yeah. And then they will put a yellow dot at the name of the school, GHPS Uttalahalli. So the children will be able to identify different objects and different people in the image and identify which article will suit them the best. You may use more images in class, and you also ask the child to draw an image which has objects where they can identify an, and the.
Those will be the set of activities that we will be looking at in this module. Now, let me remind all teachers that we have been trying from the first module, even in the last month, to create our own activity based on the structure or the pattern or the ideas from the activities that are being discussed in these modules. So remember, because this module is addressed to or is addressing the stages of practice and assistance, let us try to answer to these questions that you see on your screens for ourselves. I would request that all teachers reflect on these questions. You need not type these answers, or you need not type answers for these questions immediately. You need not send it to anybody immediately. But here, let us take the opportunity to reflect on these questions once and ask ourselves, what is my understanding of the language learning phase or the language learning phases of practice and assistance? Was I able to identify this element of practice and assistance in any of the activities that we discussed today? How can I incorporate more such elements, specifically like practice and assistance, in the activities that we have all discussed today? And more importantly, this is an question that we all try to answer in our post-DT, post-diagnostic test that we all have to attend after the webinar, which is we pick a concept and we try to create an activity idea on our own. It might be something that you have done in your classroom that you are very proud of, that you know has worked with all your students, or it can be a completely new activity that you can try to share with everybody, with all of us, so that it reaches many more teachers, so that many more students take the benefit of that wonderful idea or that meticulously designed activity that you have come up with. I hope you will all attend the post DTs after the webinar. Having said that, the resources will be shared with you. Let me remind you about the resources once again. You will get a PDF document in your respective WhatsApp groups with QR codes in it. You can either scan the QR codes if you are using them on the laptop through your phone, or if you are using, if you have opened the PDF on your phone itself, then you can just click on the QR codes, which will also send you to those respective reading materials or teaching materials to be used in your classrooms. With that, we conclude this module. It was a wonderful time interacting with all of you teachers. Thank you. Over to you, Madam Bhanu. Until we have Madam Asma with us to conclude the session and provide her inputs, if there are any expectations from the teachers or any questions from the teachers, or any activity ideas. More importantly, I would love to listen to any activity ideas that teachers have created in the last month that you would like to share on this platform. With 70 people listening to your idea, I think your idea will reach many more people and many more students, more importantly. So is there anyone who would love to share one single idea that has worked wonderfully in your classroom so that other teachers can also reap that benefit?
Okay, thank you, teachers, for participating in the webinar. So I inform
Thank-
all the teacher friends to participate in to the active participation in the webinar as well as in pre-test and post-test, and make use of this webinar to your classroom. Okay, thank you, dear teachers, and thank you for the CWC team for an wonderful webinar. Thank you once again, CWC.
Thank you, Ms. Asma. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, shall we conclude?
Yes, ma'am. We can.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all teachers once again. Thank you for your participation.